What's ripening YouTube? So I'm kind of addicted to coconuts, and as you can see here, I've been planting a lot of them. There's coconut sprouts all over the place in here. And I've got them everywhere. Here's some more over here. There's a couple more. There's another one in there. And I've got a whole coconut sprouting station. I collect all the brown ones I get from my neighbors. I can't possibly eat that many, so here's what I do with them. I use them around my planters. Like here's a little hedgerow bamboo, and I just lay them all out and I wait. And probably anywhere from 3 months to up to a year, they'll start to sprout. They won't all sprout, but you'll get a fair amount. Here's my last year's bed. These are the ones that haven't sprouted yet. So I'm just gonna leave them for a little longer. If they don't sprout by the end of the summer, I'll probably put them in the biochar. By the way, coconut shell is like the best biochar that I've made so far. That's another topic. But anyway, I wanted to show you something about coconuts that you may not have tried before. Most people have had coconut water. Most people have had coconut meat. But have you ever had a sprouted coconut? Also known as the coconut cupcake. Basically, the water inside the coconut over time will coagulate, or whatever the term is. It'll form into a solid, semi-solid mass on the inside. It's kind of like a sponge cake consistency. It's kind of salty, real nice coconut flavor. But one thing that I learned last time, I collected a bunch of these last year and I actually started harvesting them, and I noticed that I was able to harvest the sprout and eat the inside and still plant the sprout. So that's what I'm going to attempt today. I only have one of these I got from the neighbor, but I'm going to make an attempt to see if I can show you how it's done. So stand by. I did another video about how to open these. It's the same thing whether it's sprouted or not. This is a pickaxe that I have. I'll show you. Just the pickaxe in the ground. I just shove it in the ground. I stand on the handle, and you just kind of shove it. Trick is to not damage the sprout, so that's why I'm being more gentle this time. So once you get it on there, you can kind of peel it up. And start to pull this away. And you'll see inside, you can see how the sprout comes out. It comes out of one of those eyes. If you ever had one of these from the grocery store, there's little eyes, and it comes out of one of them. So what I'm going to do is take the rest of the shell off. And I find when they're brown like this, they're pretty easy to shell because they're kind of dehydrated. There's like they're easy to do when they're green, and then when they're old, they're easy to do, and there's kind of like an in-between time where they're kind of a pain in the butt. But this one happens to be at the end. This is the tricky part, trying to separate it without damaging the roots, because the roots kind of pull through the bottom. See how they kind of pierce through different areas? So you really kind of want to be mindful of what you're doing here. But you can see, let's see here, try to pull some more of this out. And you can find recipes of what to do with these. They're a nice sponge, so the best thing you can do is probably use them as a sponge, like use them with other fruit juices and let them soak up. So here's what it looks like. It's kind of already detaching itself. I did this last year, and I potted up the ones that I did, and they actually turned out pretty well. They're still growing. There we go. So here's the coconut that you would buy at the grocery store normally. But as you can see, the sprout is sticking right. What's this? Sprout sticking right out. And all I'm going to do is twist this just to make sure it pops off. And that's where it was sticking in. It's already got a root system started. So all I'm going to do is put this in a pot. I'm going to put this in a pot just like normal and let it get established before I put it out in the ground. And then so here's the coconut. Here's what you have left. And it looks just like one you'd have at the store. It doesn't make a noise. That's how you can tell when these are ready. I didn't mention that at the first. Let me go back. When you find a sprouted coconut, when it first comes out and you'll see a little bit of green, sometimes you can shake them and you'll hear a noise. Those are not ready. Those are not ready to harvest this way yet. You want them to be no noise at all. That means the inside's totally formed into the coconut. Alright, so here's that coconut, and basically the best way to open them is with the back end of a heavy knife or a machete. Just like you would with a normal one, you're just tapping around the outside. You can hear it start to crack. You see it start to crack. Just kind of keep going all the way around. And then here's the moment of truth. There's the inside. And you see it's got a spongy texture. Sometimes you can get the whole thing out in one big ball. This time it broke in half. I'm gonna kind of smack it a little bit and see if I can. Here we go. So I just tapped it a little bit and the whole thing falls out. And you can see it just breaks apart. It's real soft. It's kind of damp. Kind of damp, but at the same time, it's kind of dry. It kind of crunch. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's like a totally saturated, salty coconut flavor. It's really kind of bizarre, but it's really nice. I imagine this is really good for you because I'm always talking about sprouted foods are so good, and this is like the biggest sprout you can get. For whatever reason, it seems like the very center of it's kind of sweeter, the outside's more salty. And then one thing I've noticed too, let me show you. If you look on the very inside, let's see. If you look on the very inside, you can actually take your thumb and scratch. You can scratch out it's like pure coconut oil. But it's like sweet. I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like sweetened coconut oil. But you can just scratch it out, which is so cool. It's really good. Like super rich. And then on the inside of that, even there's the really dense coconut meat. So it's kind of cool. You take a sprouted coconut, you get a sprout that you can plant. You get the cupcake, which is pretty awesome. You get coconut oil on the inside. You scrape it. You could probably scrape it with a knife and have a little collection if you're going to cook with it or do whatever with it. And then you can shred out the inside and have that too. And then you have a bowl, and after that you got a nice mature, you can see this is hard, the shell is pretty hard and mature, so you got a little coconut bowl. So it really isn't, and I think I mentioned earlier, this is like the best. If you make biochar, this stuff is the best, because once it's been put through the system, this stuff, it's like powder. You can just kind of break it up into a little powder. It's like the best biochar ever. So the process I just showed you, there is absolutely zero waste. You're still getting to plant the coconut, you're getting to eat, you're using the shell. I can't think of a better way to consume a coconut other than I love the young water nuts. So that's my favorite, but this is a cool thing to do with the mature ones if you find them. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope I explained it pretty well, but I'm more than happy to answer questions, comments. Please subscribe or like or whatever. I'm still kind of new to Facebook or to YouTube, so I'm kind of looking for inspiration. If you have something you want me to focus on, let me know. Specifically related to tropical fruit trees, I'd be happy to work in that direction. Alright, so I decided to go ahead and just plant this one. I don't feel like potting it up because I already have a lot of coconuts in my nursery. So I'm just going to go ahead and plant it with all of its little brothers and sisters. I'm planting these kind of dense here because I think they're going to help each other out to be kind of protect each other. And I've got nowhere else to put them right now, so I'm just going to stick them in here. Doesn't really matter. I've just got some mulch already on the ground here, so I'm just pushing it to the side. And then I've got my handy dandy heavy shovel. This one is let's see. This one is Bully Tools. I got this from my buddy Pete. I just finished sharpening the blade. You do not want to drop this on your toe because it will take it off. This thing goes right through, it'll go right through your toe, right through roots, through anything. So right here is where I brushed some mulch aside. Here's my sprout that I just dug. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. We'll see how it goes. All I'm doing is dropping the shovel in. Since it doesn't have much of a root system, I'm just going to basically make a slot and then drop it in there. Nice thing about having a straight shovel, you can drop it straight down. So that's pretty much as deep as it needs to be. Only has to go, I don't know, 6 inches, 8 inches. And I'm just going to drop her in. I'm going to tuck it over here into the side. And then just kind of bunch the sand up against it. Firm it up a little bit. Obviously, if I spent money on this, I would put a lot more TLC into it, but this was free. I just dug it out of my neighbor's junk pile. And all I'm doing is going to firm that up, brush the mulch around it, and then I'm going to think some happy thoughts about this, and hopefully I'll have coconuts in 6 or 7 years from this one, or maybe that one, or maybe that one over there, maybe that one, or that one, or that one. One of these will have to make some coconuts for me. So that's it. Hopefully that gave you some ideas if you live somewhere where you can grow coconuts. If not, you can probably still sprout them and enjoy all the deliciousness on the inside. Have fun with that.